Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com, and in this tutorial we're just going to do a quick review of the different scoped objects that we've seen so far. So we've seen that in JSP you can have JSPs scoped to page, request, application and session, and we've got some equivalent objects that we can use in our servlets, and of course we can then access those objects from JSPs too. And I just thought it would be handy to summarize the information we've seen so far about what different objects there are. So the kind of lowest level one, if you like, is the request object, and we can do stuff like, so let's put here request scope, and there's no kind of page object in controller as such, as far as I know. Because we're not working on a page here, so it would make no sense to have an object that was scoped to the page. I guess the equivalent to that would be a local variable, but we do have a object that exists, a request scope, so that if you then forward to a JSP, let's say, you can still access this object, and that object is of course the request object itself. So you can say like request.set attribute test, say, and give that a value. So it's got this get and set attribute methods, and I can say string, let's say test equals request dot get attribute test. So you can set attributes in your servlet and retrieve them in JSPs if you want to, and you have to remember to cast to the right type there. Now we've also got the kind of next one up is the session object, and to retrieve that you need to call request.getSession. So we need to say request.getSession. Here we go, and that returns an object of type HTTP session. So I can say HTTP session equals request.getSession, and once again we have the kind of same kinds of methods. Let's just add the input there with Control Shift and O, and if I were to copy that, let's say, and replace request with session, it will work as before. Let's replace this as well, and we've got let's call that test one. There you go. So the session object is from a point of view of setting and getting attributes, is just like request, except that it persists for your entire session, of course. So let's say session scope. And finally, we've got the equivalent of an application scope object in JSP, and the equivalent object in servlets is the servlet context object. So if we say here get servlet context, and that retrieves a servlet context object. So let's say servlet context equals get servlet context, and we'll say here application scope. So this is shared between all your kind of browser sessions. It's basically shared for your whole application, so you can use this for hit counters and things like that, as long as you remember that if you restart your application, it's going to forget everything you stored in it. So you would have to do something else if you were using it for a hit counter to make sure it was actually stored. And let's say here, so it's again, you've got the same methods once again. And that's all I really want to show you in this tutorial. Just a quick review, because I felt that we've seen all these objects kind of one by one, but I felt that it was maybe a little bit confusing because we haven't looked at them systematically. So I just wanted to do a review here. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial, and until next time, happy coding.